Hi there, this is Christine. I'm a demonstrator with Stampin' Up! And I wanted to show you another bleach technique this week. Last week you may recall that I did stamping with bleach and I created a stamp pad with bleach instead of ink. So this week I'm using my water painter to do two different background effects. So let's dive into those. This first one, I am just going to use my water painter. Again, I filled it with bleach instead of water. And I'm just going to paint. So this is pumpkin. Oh goodness, I forgot to look it up. Pumpkin spice? No, that's not it. Pumpkin pie, I believe. Yes, pumpkin pie is the orange here, and you'll see it does a really beautiful background. So I'm just going to set that aside, and we're going to do the second technique, which is to use my block to put the bleach onto the paper. So this technique's really fun. I've done it with the water painter and ink, actually, to do really cool effects. So this time I'm just using straight old bleach. You want to be in a slightly ventilated space because bleach is stinky. So I've saturated my block and I'm just going to put that down. So doing it this way, you end up with a random effect each time, which is good. If you find that you lift your block and you haven't saturated enough, you can go back in with your water painter. And I'm just going to clean off my block. I've been using baby wipes to clean things as I go because I don't want the bleach to corrode anything. Excuse my reach. So you can see that I'm going to have, it's coming up pretty quickly to show me what the background will look like. I would like to kind of bleach out a few more spaces so that I'll be able to see my stamp better. So I'm just going to add a little bit of bleach to this. There we go. And I think that'll be good. So it gives it a kind of a randomized shape. Now, if you're concerned about your paper being too wet, you can dab it with a paper towel and take a little bit of it off. This still isn't completely dry, but I'm noticing I missed a spot here that I really want to bleach out as well. And I'm going to leave the rest. So I'm just going to set these aside to dry. I'll pull them back in because they're going to keep changing as the workshop goes through. And we're going to work with the dry ones that I did yesterday. So it doesn't take a super long time to dry, but it does take a little bit of time. So the stamp set I want to use for playing with these bleach cards is In the Moment. It's a beautiful stamp set, kind of that be kind to yourself kind of theme. So you're in my thoughts. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is relax. You're always so good to others. Be good to yourself too. And here's a lady looking off in the distance with a wine glass, another with a book and her dog, and this one's looking out the window with a cup of tea or coffee. So, or maybe there's something else in her mug, who knows? But it's really that self-care theme, which I think is really important for all of us. So I've got my stamp set. I'm going to start. So this is Night of Navy, which is what we just did. So here's the one we just did, and here's what it looks like now that it's all dry. So you can see it's kind of pulled out. I find like an antique purplish tinge to it, which is just lovely. So for this one, I'm going to use the stamp of the lady looking out the window. I'm using block E for these. They do fit on block D, but it's a snug fit. And I am going to use Night of Navy ink, being matchy-matchy here. Trying not to shake my table. All right. And I'm putting a bit of pressure on this one because with the bleached out paper, it's got a bit of a texture to it. I want to make sure that we get a nice good stamped image. And there we go. So I find it kind of looks a little bit moody. I really like that look. Yeah, so I'm going to show you a card that I did yesterday that is finished. So this one is actually Misty Moonlight is my base, card base. And it bleaches out a little bit differently than this one. This one's got a little bit more kind of purple to the background, whereas this one is more, actually it really matches well with the Sahara sand here, I find. So I just layered it onto a piece of Sahara sand. This paper is a nature scene from the Beauty and Nature Designer Series paper. And then I've got a Stitch So Sweetly die that I did here. And instead of grabbing the whole sentiment, I just used Relax, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. And I've got on the background here another die cut from oh goodness, I did not write this down. It's not the Pierce Blooms, it's the Poppies layering. Sorry, I think I've still got it next to me, which is why I'm rooting around. The Painted Labels dies. That's it for this blue. So I've really kept the color scheme kind of neutral. So I really like that one. It's calming. All right, so now we're going to put our Night of Navy away. We're not going to turn this one into a card, but we are going to do this one and turn this one into a card. So the other stamp that I wanted to use is, I haven't used the lady reading her book with her dog, and I'm a big reader, so I really love this one. Our dogs were never allowed in the bed though, so this would not be me, but close. All right, so I'm using Memento Black for this one, and we're going to be stamping on Highland Heather, which was bleached out with the brush technique, which kind of reveals a sort of bluish white underneath, or maybe grayish bluish white. It's a nice shade. So I've got a nice amount of black on that, and again, I'm putting a fair amount of pressure just because I want to get as black a outline as I can. There we go. This stamp set is terrific for coloring in if you like to color as well with watercolors, or I've been using my Stampin' Blends. It's really pretty. And we are going to make a card with this one. So that is our image, and you can see it's just, I'm not going to color this image in. I'm going to leave it as is. And I'm just going to put my stamp away. And we're going to do a little bit of cutting. So I've got my card base, which is thick white. This is half a sheet, so it was 11 by 8.5. Now it's 5.5 by 8.5. Scored at 4 1/4. So I'm just going to fold that on the score line. Use my reach. Just using my bone folder to burnish the line, which is another word for making it nice and crisp. And then we're going to do a little bit of cutting. I've got the paper that we're using here is the Sunshine and Rainbows Designer Series paper, which I am just loving. This is part of the Celebration offerings, so you can get the paper for free with an order of $60 or more Canadian. And there's just so many beautiful patterns to it. Oh no, we're gonna be cutting this. So I've cut it the size of my card front, so 5.5 by 4 1/4. I've been doing that a lot lately, where I don't have a I end up not having a border. I don't know, it's a thing I'm doing. So I'm going to take it in I want to leave some of the natural kind of frame around. So I've got that at 3 3/4. I'm going to flip it around and we're going to go to 3 1/2. I think will be fairly even, fairly centered. Yeah. So now that we're at 3 1/2, I want this image to be balanced top and bottom. So we are going to take off, let's see. So the width of the card, the full card would be 4 1/4. So I've taken off 3/4. So I want to take 3/4 off the height as well, which will bring us down to 4 3/4. But I'm not going to take it all off the bottom or the top. I want it to be somewhat balanced. I'm actually going to go 1/2 and 1/2. Actually, that's not quite right. This will work. There we go. Quick math, it's not always pretty. So what we will have is this. So actually I want to take a little bit more off so that we've got a bigger, we can see more of the designer series paper. So I'm going to take 1/4 inch off all around, which will allow us to see more of the designer series paper and yet still have a balanced image. There we go. Okay. Sorry, that was a little more complicated than it had to be, but we're done with the paper cutter. So this is our image. Now the other item that I wanted to bring into this card is the cloud punch. So this is another, this is from the same designer series paper, the Sunshine and Rainbows. And one of the sheets is all different clouds that you can punch out. And of course I'm going to have to cut that to fit in our punch, and it's going to be too short. So I'm going to show you another trick. And where is my... I'm very disorganized today. I was doing much better earlier. I don't know what happened. I want some sticky notes, which is what I'm rooting around here. I don't need a huge sticky note, so we're just going to tear off a piece of this one. And the reason I want my sticky note is you can see that this piece of paper isn't very big anymore. And in order to be able to position it, I'm just putting the sticky on here. So I'm going to put this into the punch. I'm using the sticky note to line it up, to position it. And once I'm happy with the position, I'm going to punch all the way through, like so. There we go. And when I'm done with my punch, I just slide it shut. And I don't have to worry about it jumping off at anybody. All right, so on the other side is this pretty rainbow pattern, which would also work nicely, but I find with the purple, I prefer the blue. And so we're actually going to use this as our sentiment label. And I actually only want to use the word relax on the front. I really like that on the front, and then on the inside I've done, I did the same thing here. You're always so good to others, be good to yourself too. So that's what I've been doing. I want a little bit of a, okay, can't I have another stamp, another, I don't know what happened to my other sticky note pad. It's smaller though, which makes it a little easier to use. So because I only want to use relax, excuse me, I am covering up the words above it, but careful to not cover any of relax. And I'm just gonna, so with the sticky note attached, I'm going into my ink, making sure it's nice and saturated. And the important part here is to remove the sticky note before, oh gosh, I see that before stamping our word. So you can use this technique to remove words from a stamp, like just some words inside, or at the beginning of the end is always easiest. And that's all there is to it. There we go. All right. So now we've got our sentiment, we've got our background. So I'm going to use liquid glue and put that down on the front of my card. I like to use liquid glue when I'm working with these bigger layers because it just allows you to make sure you've got everything nicely lined up. There we go. And the super fun thing about using a straight line kind of pattern paper is that now I have something to line up against with this layer. So I'm always worried about getting things crooked. So I'm lining it up against this lovely little pink line, which I think is Melon Mambo. And I'm going to use dimensionals to pop up our relax. And that's that. So that is our very, very simple, ooh, one more thing, sorry. Simple card, but I do like to add a little bit of bling, and I've been loving these brushed metallic adhesive back dots. I'm just using them everywhere. And I'm never sure which one to use because you've got gold, kind of a brushed brass, I guess, and this rose gold. I'm never sure which one to use. So it is stuck down to the cardboard backing, but if you just lift a little bit and slide it, then you can see how each will look. And I'm kind of liking the rose gold on this one, I think. So I'm gonna go with that. And I'm not gonna use a lot, just a couple to move the eye around the card. There we go. And that's all there is to it. And I just wanted to show you another one that I made using the orange. So for this one, I had used the large block E with the with my bleach and put it down on the orange. And you can see it pulled out these beautiful yellows. So this is Our Lady with the Glass of Wine, and I stamped the image. I then stamped the image on white, and I cut it out, did some fussy cutting, which I then pasted it over top. So it kind of, that image where you've got, you know, some of it colored and some of it not, and I decided to leave her not colored. And then I used the Stitch So Sweetly dies and die cut a piece of the gorgeous, sorry, I've forgotten the name of this as well, the ombre specialty paper. I don't know if you can see with the glare. So there's a sheet of yellow, of red, of dark blue, and purple, and it's just got this lovely shimmer to it. So I've made that as a frame essentially, and I have stuck it over top of the negative piece, and on the background I'm using Coastal Cabana, it's the In Color Designer Series paper for the brights, sorry. And I put extra birds on there. So yeah, I'm loving the stamp set. I love the sentimentality behind it with that kind of self-care theme, and sharing that with others. So I hope you enjoyed this video and the bleaching technique, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel to see my next videos.